Hello everyone. I'm Valentina Fuentes and welcome back to our podcast. Today we're gonna go on a little trip through history and culture. The topic that would be food and tea in England. So now, maybe when you think of the word food, maybe it sounds like too simple, but I promise that it has a lot of stories related to inventions, traditions, and even revolutions. So let's gonna start it. First, we're gonna start with food in England. So I think that when people usually think of English food, the first dish that come to their minds would be the full English breakfast. It has eggs, bacon, sausages, bean, mushrooms, and toast. And as you know, it's big and it's too heavy. But let me ask you, have you ever actually tried a full English breakfast? And you think that you could finish it all? Honestly, I think that I couldn't do that. No, I couldn't. So, as I was reading about this topic, I found a very interesting topic that was that the English food isn't just uh isn't just English. So, why? It's actually like a mix of many cultures. Like, for example, when the Romans invaded, they brought new crops like cabbages. And then, or later, the Vikings introduced fried fish and smoked food. And then, the Normans introduced species and new ways of cooking meat. So, when we are talking about traditional British food, it's actually a cultural fusion that evolves um, centuries and cultures. Another classic dish that you probably know is fish and chips. I discovered that fried fish was actually a Jewish tradition that was brought to England, and potatoes, and those came from the Americas. So then England just combined them, and boom, fish and chips became like a national symbol. So here's a question for you. If you have to pick one, would you go for the giant and heavy English breakfast or to the crunchy fish and chips? Now, let's move on to something that is almost a national obsession. As you know, the tea. So, did you know that the tea arrived in England in the 16th? So, it was like it came from China, and at first it was expensive and only the rich people could afford it. But then in the 18th century, the tea had become like popular, but it continued being expensive. Why? Because the government put very high taxes on tea. So this made it that the tea would be expensive. And I found that it said that some people were buying illegal tea, but then it comes to one of the most famous events that is connected to the tea. That was the Boston Tea Party in the 1663, in which people threw a lot of tea into the Boston Harbor, and that was like a kind of protest against the British taxes. Later, in the 19th century, Anna, the Duchess of Bedford, she popularized the afternoon tea. Why? Because it said that she felt angry between lunch and dinner, and she started having like tea with sandwiches or cakes. So then it became popular. Then, so when we talk about English food and tea, we're talking about history, culture, and identity, as I mentioned before. And it it goes from Romans to Vikings, like from Normans to Boston Tea Party. So every dish and every cup of tea has a story. So thank you for joining me today, and I hope that you could learn something new about England's traditions. Thank you.